Me too.
Emily and Deborah, you guys said you disagree that men are, the thing is men are not insecure for caring about a woman's body count. You both disagreed. Why is that?
I circled it.
You did circle it, Deborah.
I disagree, meaning I do think he's insecure for caring about body count.
Yeah, I think I circled that too.
Huh?
I disagree, meaning I do think it's insecure to care about body count.
Do you know what disagree means?
What was the statement?
Men are not insecure for caring about a woman's body count.
Disagreeing means men are insecure.
Yes.
Yeah, and I disagreed with that statement, meaning
Yes.
men are insecure for worrying about body count.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
That's saying men aren't. Men
He's
are not
asking me
insecure.
why do you think that?
Do you know the definition of...
She thinks men are insecure for it.
Yeah,
No,
I
I
disagree
know.
with the
Yes.
statement, meaning yes, men are insecure for thinking that, for being concerned about that.
Okay. Right. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
Ryan.
I guess I
So-
also circled it, but not for the same reason. I don't think insecure is the right word for it necessarily. I don't think it makes them insecure. I just think, I don't know why I
don't think it
disagree
makes
with
them
that.
insecure.
I just feel like insecure is a weird word to use to describe that. I think both people, partners in a relationship, should have some level of concern at all, or they don't, that's fine, and then they would be a good match for each other. But I think it's very normal and healthy to have some concern about that for bonding, you know, because it makes it harder to bond with
All
people.
right.
But insecure is just not, I wouldn't call a man insecure for being concerned.
And why are men insecure if they care about a woman's body count?
Because like I said, why is that any of your business? Like, you weren't part of the picture. Maybe if you came into my life sooner, I met the love of my life, I wouldn't have gone around sleeping with this guy, that guy.
Would you say that you don't think it's fair? Like, would it not be fair for a guy, you tell him your body count, and he, because of your body count, he doesn't want to date you? Would that be unfair?
I would think that would be insecure.
Insecure. So
I don't
he's
think
not,
it's unfair because people have their preferences.
Okay. But he would be insecure.
Yeah, because why does me being with other men before you're even there like bother you so much? Are you trying to? That's
Well,
kind
wouldn't
of
it be a mark of security? So if the idea is that a person has boundaries and preferences, and they're
Yeah.
willing to enforce those preferences, it seems like it's the most secure thing you can do.
But you can't like base someone's behavior from when they're single, like let that
Why
affect
not?
how they would act when
Why
they're in a
not?
relationship. Because that's
Yeah,
when
why-
I'm
why can't
single.
you?
I wouldn't go sleep around with
Complete
random
different
people
people,
when
single
I'm
and
in a
not single.
relationship.
Well, I mean, actually, the best predictor for future behavior is past behavior. So, I mean,
Being
this is-
single, you can
Wait,
say my
did you get
past
a-
behavior
did you
in
get a-
relationships.
Who's the psychology degree person?
Me.
Yeah, this is actually like a psychological
But you
principle.
can't compare someone being single to them being in a relationship. They act totally
no,
different.
two different
agree.
people.
I mean, I agree with this point. I don't think you're making a bad point that people can reform and all different sorts of things. I'm not even disagreeing with that. I'm only disagreeing about one point, which
What?
is the idea of insecurity. If you have boundaries on what your preferences are and you're not willing to compromise on those boundaries, doesn't that show security, not insecurity?
I feel like you should be secure with your partner, knowing that they're with you in the present moment, and moving forward, they wouldn't repeat the past.
That doesn't answer my
things that
question.
they did.
though.
But I feel like it's double standards because men get
Let me repeat the question so I make sure that you understand the question. If you have boundaries and you enforce those boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is that not a sign of security?
It is insecure to be concerned over something superficial that didn't involve you and would not be repeated with this new bond that you're involved in. Why would
Well, I
you
think
let
it's
external
insecure to-
factors affect something like a whole different situation? I think it's insecure to worry about. It's kind of like don't worry about things that are out of your control type of thing. Like it's kind of insecure to be thinking about what they're doing when you weren't even in the picture.
Isn't it insecure to try to make a person compromise on their boundaries for your benefit?
No, because then that's just preference. If they don't need to be with me, I said I would respect if a man didn't want to be with me because of my
Yeah,
body
but
count.
what would make that? But the point here is
Because
what
why are
makes
you
it
so worried about what I
insecure,
did
so-
before you? Like, why does that affect you and
Because
us presently?
because you're enforcing your preference. You're enforcing your preference and your boundaries. And so if you enforce your preference and boundaries, that seems like it's a sign of a secure person. An insecure person would be somebody who would compromise on their own boundaries, right?
But an insecure person is someone who's even concerned about that. It's like calling a woman insecure for saying like, oh, why are you liking her photos on Instagram? But me being secure is me respecting my relationship boundaries. Like, you shouldn't be liking all these women's pictures.
Okay, well, let's test
But they're
this
going
and
to
see
call
if
me
this is true.
insecure for getting upset over them.
Is it
doing that
insecure to not, like, let's say that you really loved
I
the
feel like it's
chick, you
double
thought she was
standards.
great, and then you found out she had genital herpes, and so you said, okay, I'm going to end this relationship because I don't want to be with somebody who has genital herpes. Is that insecurity?
No.
No, that's
But
bringing a
it
health
happened
concern
before,
into
But it happened
it.
before. It happened before, right? Had nothing
But that
to
is
do with
something
him. It
that
happened
affects your
before.
present partner. That is a health concern. But all the other hookups before, if you never caught anything, none of that affects your current partner.
And you did it safely, then it shouldn't really matter.
Yeah, sure. It's a health concern, right? But it still conflates to preference. So some people's preferences, this health concern wouldn't bother them. For other people, the health concern would bother them. They're just enforcing their preference, right? They're
Well, it's
saying,
just
"I
my
prefer-"
preference to not have my boyfriend following girls, but some people are going to say that's insecure for not letting him interact with girls.
Yeah,
on
I
social
understand
media.
that some people would say that. I'm not saying that it's an insecurity that you have boundaries, and because you have boundaries, you're willing to enforce them. That's not insecure. That seems like it's a sign of being secure. Insecure seems to me like a person who's willing to wane on their boundaries or in some way throw them out the window. That seems like a sign of insecurity.
I think insecurity is more not feeling secure enough in your relationship to not be worried about those external factors. If you were secure enough, you wouldn't be worried about who your partner was with before you or who your partner is interacting with
with.
online. If you were secure enough with all that, I think it is insecure to be worried about those superficial things that do not concern you presently.
Might I
or
jump in
future.
really quick? Do you think a man would be insecure if he didn't want to date a woman because she had a body count of 100?
Wait, can you repeat that?
But what does that have to do with him?
This is
Like-
totally central to the conversation. Oh, no. Oh, wait, you were answering it. What does that have to do with him?
Yeah.
So, okay, just so we're clear, there would be no and I'll even grant you that there's no STDs involved. Somehow she's fucking played Russian roulette with her pussy, still didn't get an STD. 1,000 men. She's been with 1,000 men before him. Still insecure.
As long as she's not still talking to those men, or nothing's gonna happen during this
10,000.
relationship.
Damn.
She's been
She
with
ran through it.
10,000 men before him.
Ran through.
Still insecure?
What is there to complain about though? Like, is her coochie loose? Is she concerned? Is it affecting
No,
your
she has
health?
the tightest
that's not-
pussy in the
Like,
world.
exactly. What is the problem? That's just a matter
Yeah,
of like
I'll tell you. I'll explain it.
possession and trying to objectify someone and be like, oh,
Possession.
you're
You
like
literally
worthless
look
to
through
me
your
when
fucking
you've
ex's
been
phone.
experienced by other people.
You're like stalking who he's following. You're
But that's
possessive.
present. That's present moment. But what happened before doesn't matter.
I bet you
but
still
what
get
about
jealous
what's
of the chicks
revolting?
he used to fuck.
Me personally,
Bro.
yes. I'm insecure. I can admit that.
Oh, okay, sure.
But I would admit that it's insecure for a man too.
What?
Yeah, but why would it be insecure if, like, you do realize that men have a revolt factor in them, right? And for good reason. They have a revolt factor for good reason. The idea being that the less men that a woman has been with, the more likely that you can secure paternity, right? So this is the idea. The idea is that until modern times in paternity tests, the only way you could determine if a child was yours is if a woman exclusively was having sex with you, right? There was no other way to determine that. So it's wired into men to have a revolt factor to a woman's promiscuous behavior, right? It's actually wired in. So if that's the case, right, then the premise here is, hey, they find it revolting. Why would it be a sign of insecurity to you know, for some reason do the thing you thought was revolting? It just seems the opposite to me.
But isn't it also like biologically ingrained in women to like find a provider and such like that?
Yes.
Like,
Yes, I think so.
so
So you would think that they would tailor if they wanted a provider and they knew that men generally tend to find higher body counts to be revolting. If women were moving towards that, you would think that they would keep their body counts low on purpose, right? Like that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
yeah, but not all men care about that type of stuff. And so
Well,
I think
that's true.
hearing
Not
about
all do. Not all
Yeah.
do. But But the type of men that you would probably want probably care about that kind of stuff, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but then there's the type of men who care about what the woman's body count is, but totally dismisses what his own body count
And
is.
that's what double
That's
standards
because
come
women
in.
tend to not care about that at all. In fact, it's the opposite. It's very bizarre. And this has always been a strange phenomenon to me, but I've actually seen men who are virgins in their 30s get shamed by women and told, well, wait, there must be actually something wrong with you if other women don't desire you. They're like, there must be something wrong with you. I've actually seen that, but I don't really see that phenomenon in reverse, which is strange. Like, men definitely desire women who have no body count. Like, they definitely desire that. But on the flip side
every
of
guy
that,
wants a
women
virgin.
don't seem to give a shit too much
Sorry.
about a man's body count.
I don't know. Some men like their women a little seasoned. Maybe they're a
Nope.
little more experienced.
But most of men
Yeah,
just want a
so-
virgin. Like, so you guys just go date
Seasoned
15-year-old
with
then that hasn't done shit like what?
Why?
So
wait,
you wouldn't
wait,
ask
wait.
your man
I don't
for his, like,
understand.
body count?
Why the assumption
So is it
has
not
to
weird
be-
for a 40-year-old to be a
ass,
virgin?
actually.
Because my brother's a 40-year-old and he's a virgin.
So
Yeah,
Boomer.
I think a lot of women would see that as
We're
a red
talking about
flag.
body
yeah.
count, and I have a brother who's a virgin. He's 40.
what about them?
I find that kind of weird.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. Well, that makes sense, right? I think
You're
that
40
most
at that
women
point,
would
like,
say that's
you're getting
weird.
old.
That's weird. That's odd. That's strange that he's 40 and a virgin, right? This actually is making my point for me. And so what does she do immediately? She's like, oh, well, if you want a virgin, go find a 15-year-old. What does the big 15 have to do with their virginity? Like, is it,
Well, I don't know.
all of this, all of that
Younger
is
the
just
girl,
a straight up
right?
shaming
Less experience.
tactic. It's all shaming tactic to just to tell a man it's inappropriate for you to not want a woman with a high body count. So that's just insane.
And actually, it's interesting. Like the 40-year-old male virgin is like a lot of women, like the women that would date him in terms of like, you know, respective age or whatever. The women in that age range, that's going to probably be a big red flag for vast majority of women. But like somehow there's a 40-year-old virgin woman. I would argue that she's going to be pretty highly coveted by a lot of men in her own age range. They're going to be like, whoa, that's rare.
Be like a unicorn.
Whereas the dude's going to be looked at as a weirdo, right?
Yeah, dude's
Yeah.
going to be like, that's super weird.
I feel like it
So
depends on the reason too. Like I would be like, why are you a virgin at 40?
Because he lives with his mom and plays video games.
Okay.
Works a job, but I'm just,
That's
that's
different.
weird. Like, go out and that
But then you
dating
wouldn't know
life
how
or
to
something, do something.
Be good in bed. So
I personally
would
don't find
rather-
it like any problem with a virgin man at all. In my
At
opinion.
like 40?
Yeah.
If anything, he's
40 is,
becoming
I would
obsessed.
ask, like I said,
But
I
it's
would
like
ask.
bad as sex.
Yeah,
So-
right. But that's the whole key,
mean-
right? The
Then you
whole
could
key
teach him
there is
then.
like, you would
But
ask
I'll teach
because you
him.
think it's weird, right? You would ask because you think it's weird.
I mean,
That's
yeah,
the
I would
point.
ask.
unusual.
I would just
It's
ask.
It's unusual
yeah.
for sure.
Because he could just be like
Yeah.
really religious and he just hasn't found the girl. I don't know.
And that's cute.
true.
I love that.
Yeah, that's what I'm just.
also,
Saving
like,
yourself
True,
for
but
marriage.
the fact that you think it's weird is the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
fact that you even think it's odd to begin with is showing this kind of distinction, which we're looking at, which is that definitely men seem to be very happy with women with low body counts and seem to prefer it if they can get one. Whereas women don't seem to care nearly as much about men having a higher body count. And this could have something to do with the penetrative nature of it. I'm not exactly sure why, but that does seem to be the case.
I mean, I disagree. I personally do care, like, about my man's body count. I feel like it's super important for me to know, especially because sex is such a spiritual thing that, in my eyes, I feel like you should only share with one person, even though I know you guys probably
Sure.
disagree with that. But that's just the reason why I would probably care. I would care.
Well,
a lot, for
I
sure.
agree with you that
Yeah.
there's many individual women that would care about this, and there's just like, but if we're talking about the wide scope of women, generally speaking, they don't seem to care as much about it as men care about it. I guess that's the point that I'm after. Not that individual women don't care about it, because I know tons that do.
quick question for you. You said that, I don't know if you said some men or a lot of men, they prefer their women more seasoned. So like more sexually experienced.
Yeah, some of them do.
Like, yeah, I mean, so
They like to date strippers, OnlyFans girls.
yeah, those
People
guys are
have their
degenerates.
preferences.
But so I guess my question to you is, do you think, like, realistically speaking, do you think when it comes to the sexual experience component, well, I suppose men would like, a woman who is quote unquote good in bed, although if you're a man and you have some degree of sexual experience, you can have a pretty stellar sexual experience with an inexperienced woman or even a virgin. Do you think most men, like if the trade-off is she's marginally better in the bedroom or even much better in the bedroom, but this entails that she's fucked 20 additional men before me, do you think most men make that trade-off?
I don't think they think about that. Like, oh, she's
They
better in
definitely-
bed. Oh, she's probably fucked more people. Like, it could be she's
but-
been in
It's
like
natural. Oh my
3
goodness.
long-term
Natural.
relationships.
Oh, but you gotta yes, I agree with, in fact, I may argue this point all the time. A woman who has a low body count, who's been in, 2 relationships, right? 2 long-term relationships. She's probably better in bed than the woman who's had 100 one-night stands with 100 different men
I
and
can
only
agree with
fucked
that.
one man one time.
I can agree with that because of my relationship.
So this idea that the higher the body count, she's going to be better in bed, doesn't really compute necessarily, because
doesn't.
she
I didn't
could have had
say
just a bunch of
causation.
one-night stands.
I said there's some correlation.
But your whole statement, I don't know why you bring that up, because your whole statement here is we're talking about women with higher body counts, and your position is, your argument for men would prefer women with a higher body count is because she's more seasoned, in other words, more sexual experience. It's
Yeah.
kind of frustrating, I don't know.
I'm not saying it's causation necessarily. Sleeping with more people makes you better in bed, but I'm saying that it gives you more experiences. Like maybe that person's more open sexually. They'd be down to have threesomes. They'd be down to go to orgies with you.
Not
Whereas
me.
a
Why?
virgin,
Whoa,
maybe
hold
a
on.
virgin would not be as open to those sexual experiences.
But why would a guy who's already screening for low body count women, why would he want to
No,
take her
I
to
said
an
a
orgy?
woman. I said guys who
Why the
prefer a seasoned woman. You said why would guys prefer seasoned women if necessarily they aren't better in bed? I'm saying maybe their sexual preferences and what they're open to.
So they're a cuck.
No,
You said he wants to bring his girl to an orgy.
no, I
Translation,
said
let other men fuck her.
like being with a stripper. I'd say she might be more open to using sex toys, trying role play, trying threesomes. But if you were to fuck a virgin, maybe she'd be kind of more closed off to those things. That's what I mean by more
Sex
seasoned.
is not this complicated procedure. Look,
It's different for everyone.
but again, I'll ask the question again because you didn't even give me an answer. So the question is, do you think most men, if they get a woman who's a bit better in bed, the trade-off being that she's fucked 20 other dudes, do you think most men make that trade-off?
What trade-off is happening? They're okay with her fucking 20 more people because she's better in bed?
Can I ask you a question? How would you feel if you didn't have breakfast this morning?
Lightheaded?
Okay. So okay.
She took that round, Brian.
I could repeat myself. I don't know if that'll help you understand.
Well,
but-
what do you mean by trade-off though? He's okay with her fucking 20 more people because she's a little bit better in bed?
Okay, so you're saying.
I think no
Your
matter
position-
how she gets good in bed is none of your concern. Just be fucking grateful that she's with you and she's fucking you good. Whether she slept with 20 men before you
Should
or
women-
one guy
should
for a
women
long
just-
time.
Like in my case.
But okay, so you're saying that your position is that body count doesn't matter, and one of the benefits of a woman who has a higher body count is she's more seasoned, she has more sexual experience, and this is going to lead to conceivably better sex. So I'm asking you, do you think most men are willing to make that trade-off of the woman is better in bed, therefore I will accept a woman with a higher body count because she's better in bed?
Yeah. Some guy wants a certified
okay.
eater who will make him nut in 5 seconds, or do he want the unexperienced girl who takes an hour to get him off? Like, it's just, it doesn't.
Since when is it women who, like, y'all, oh my God. Okay. So yeah, there's like some Coomer fucking degen men, I guess, who would prefer that. Do you think most men who like want a girlfriend, do you think that those men who have a girlfriend, and if the girlfriend is not like up to par sexually, although it's something that can be worked on and communicated and talked of, he would be like, you know what? I just wish you came better experienced already, and the entailment of that is that you've had an additional 20 sexual partners. Do they make the trade-off?
No, because like I said, it's not causation. Higher bodies does not equal better in bed.
It's your position. Your position. Oh my God, bro. Your position is that a woman with a higher body count is more seasoned.
No, all I said was it doesn't matter how she became good in bed. That's none of your
You're literally
concern.
walking
That
back
should
your
not
own
be
position.
a judgment of character. That should not be a defining factor in your relationship, I feel like, because like I said, if there's no health concern, if there's no loyalty concern, then what is the concern? That's a matter of like objectifying someone, feeling like they're less worthy because they've experienced more. That's just not a good way to value someone.
I agree with that.
Because they've been with more people. Like,
What? You said it's objective.
I agree that sex is like spiritual connections. I'm not the type to just sleep around with anybody either. Like, but some people choose to do that with
How
their
is it
bodies, so that doesn't make them
objectifying? Why is
any
it
less of a
object- how is
person
it-
or any.
It makes them less worthy of-
being a girlfriend, or
Sure it
any
does.
less loyal in a relationship.
Sure it
No,
does.
it doesn't.
Yes, I think somebody who has a high body count is going to be deemed less desirable in the sexual marketplace. Sorry. This is a metric by which men determine whether they want to be with a woman.
Some men, but in the
Most
end,
men.
at the
Some
end of the
men
day,
don't
if she
want a
never
woman that's
tells
ran
you,
through,
how would you
basically
ever
put in
know?
words like
Like
that.
that really
so you're a
isn't
liar. Okay.
At the end of the day, if she doesn't tell you, that doesn't change anything in your relationship. That doesn't make
Yes,
the
it
sex
does.
any better or less. It does not make the love any more or less. It does
Oh,
not make her any
she's a
better or less
liar.
a person.
Yes, it
more or
changes-
less promiscuous or loyal in a relationship.
Here, respond to
Because that
this.
has nothing to do with the relationship
Here.
or
Yeah, yeah.
that specific person.
Okay, cool. So respond to this. You just said if she doesn't tell you. Okay, so if I ask her and she lies about it,
No, I'm saying that it's not the end of the world because that's not a determining factor. It doesn't change anything physically in the relationship.
yeah, she lied about it. You said if she doesn't
No,
tell
I'm
you.
saying at the end of the day, if you never knew what her body count is, what does that change in your relationship?
I can actually look. I'll even give you a scenario where this could be an issue. So, a woman who has more connections with men, albeit this is kind of like one of the more like niche arguments that can be made. A woman who's made more connections with men, it's inevitable that she's landed on a fucking crazy dude. And if you're involved with a crazy fucking ex, then that's an issue for me.
That can be for girls who don't sleep around with people who have just poor taste in men or just experienced bad men in their life. That
I have
doesn't
to agree
equate to
with
high
you.
body count either.
Huh?
That doesn't equate to high body count. People can have crazy exes
not
without
necessarily,
having body count
but you
50
think
plus.
the virgin woman who's never had a long-term
She can be
relation-
with an
Oh my God,
abusive
shut up.
man.
You got to stop interrupting. The virgin woman, who do you think is more likely to have done the roulette until she's landed on a crazy fuck? The chick who's fucked 100 dudes or the virgin? Who?
What if the virgin has only ever encountered the one horrible, crazy,
My God,
abusive
bro, I can't
man?
argue with somebody who just immediately every time goes to
That's
like
what
the
happened to me.
exception to the rule. I just can't even have a conversation.
Maybe a
with you.
virgin wouldn't know
virgin's never had
her
a chance spinning
self-worth
with a
or
crazy
like
dude,
what
that
else is out
period.
there in the
Like,
dating field to
you're-
pick better men, and
Right,
the
good
virgin
point.
is the one who ends up with those crazy exes because they don't have those sexual encounters with
Okay,
more
fine.
Sounds like
free,
me.
open-
Wow.
That actually makes
Sounds
Brian's
like
point,
me.
though. I mean, from Brian's perspective, basically, you're just saying that the virgin should go out and have sex with more men so that she doesn't end up inexperienced with men she's not having sex with. That's what your argument there would reduce to.
Wait, you or me? Me?
You, yeah.
Oh wait, what
Yeah,
were
you
you
want-
saying?
So what are
Yeah, I'll
I
repeat it.
look?
I'll
I
repeat
guess
it for you.
what are acceptable metrics that men are allowed to disqualify a woman on then?
Their past relationships. Have you cheated on your past partners when you're in like a loyal, committed, exclusive relationship? Like, have you gone through their phone, or have you been cheated on? Those are, I feel like, determining factors of like past trauma, future behaviors in relationships, and like telltale signs of like loyalty and such. But
What
you
is-
shouldn't.
What is considered toxic to you?
Controlling.
I think, yeah, like not being respectful of like your opinions and your feelings and
But
your
if your
well-being.
boyfriend was going through your phone and making an argument with you every time he found a new girl on your phone, wouldn't you actually like get pissed off?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
my
but you're
past
doing that
relationship was
to
toxic,
him.
and that's why my ex broke up with me. I'm fully aware of that.
Okay.
And I know I have baggage that needs to be healed. I'm not dodging accountability whatsoever.
Last question on this. Do you think that it would be wrong for a guy to not want to date an ex-sex worker?
It's not wrong.
I think that's just preference too.
But it's in her past, right?
Yeah, so
She
I
stopped
think
doing it.
he
She's
should,
not doing it anymore.
Yeah, he should be open to the idea of like she's a changed person. As long as she won't do that to you, it shouldn't matter what happened in her past. It was just her way of making money. You know, it's not her being disloyal to you or disrespecting you, and it won't happen again.
Okay, well, let's see. Let's get into more of the questionnaire stuff. Women should go 50-50 on a date. Bridget, you disagreed. Amelia, you disagreed. Emily also disagree.
Especially on a first date. That's crazy.
I think Deborah disagree. Tanya also disagree. What's crazy?
That on going on a first date, the girl has to be expected to pay 50-50 of the date that you're inviting her on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if you're inviting me out to a date, why do I have to pay if
Have
you're
you-
the one initiating this?
Mm-hmm. So whoever asked should pay.
Yeah.
Have you ever asked a guy out on a date?
No.
Interesting how that works.
But
It's
I
a very
would.
privileged
But I would.
position to
I'm
be
not
in.
like saying, oh, I would never pay or anything. Like, no, I have paid for guys. I have bought them stuff. I have been like in that
Hold on,
role.
let's
But I
clarify,
also
on
enjoy.
on a first date, or like you're 5 years into a relationship.
I've never 5 years in a relationship. I've never
Yeah.
like a first date like offer like, oh, I'm gonna take care of it. Don't worry. Like.
You have
no,
or you have not?
I have not, and I
Okay.
don't think I would. Cause I want to see
Yeah.
if he's a provider or not. If he's actually a man, because those are like the roles of a man. Am I wrong?
Well, okay. I'm interested in going into should claims on this. So, just show of hands going around the table. Should men pay for the first date?
Should.
For the first, yeah.
Into the mics, guys.
Yes.
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 Deborah, yes.
Yes.
I don't agree with that.
Should women cook and clean?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Should women be submissive?
Yes, if the man is leading correctly, the woman should be submissive.
Should women? Should women?
So I'll be submissive if my man's doing his job.
demonstrate chastity?
Well, who
Wait, what?
determines what's
Should
leading
women be
correctly?
virgins?
Be virgins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any virgins at the table?
Me? Okay. I was in a relationship with
I'm a
my
born again virgin.
born again virgin.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Down and cleared my soul.
I was just asking, you said if men are leading properly, they should be submissive. Who's going to determine that the man is leading properly?
Does it not say in the Torah or Bible or wherever you want to reference it as that a woman should submit to a husband who is worthy?
And loyal and
Is that not a
provider.
biblical value?
It is, because I'm very religious.
That a man should, and that's what I was saying beforehand, where I stand by what I said, that this generation, not for many reasons, not only their fault, things that came before them, what it means, I don't want to speak for men, but overall, I think if there has been a decline on both sides of gender roles, and this is by design in our society to take away gender roles and say that there's no difference between a man and a woman, which I vehemently disagree with. And overall, I think that men should be worthy leaders. There's a lot of crazy men, just like there's a lot of crazy women, but
Do you have your phone?
yeah.
Did you not hear the instructions to not be on your phone?
I never put it back after I showed you the picture.
What's that?
I just didn't go back over there and put
Okay,
it back
that's
after
fine. Go ahead.
the picture.
Sorry, Deborah. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. Just, I mean, I stand by what I said, which I think that what it comes down to, a man who can provide, protect, and show that he is a strong leader absolutely deserves a woman who
That's
can trust him.
submissive.
And this is, I think, a big misalignment within society where I think deep down women really do want to submit to men. They want to be able, as we say in girl world, just turn your brain off when you're on a date. You don't
And
have
be
to
in your
think
feminine
about
power,
where
you
you're
know,
walking,
soft.
and you can really, and what I said with the sourdough and nails and stuff like that, clearly you don't understand jokes, but that's just my style when
Of
it
being
comes to
submissive.
speaking. I think embracing your femininity, women, because we've been pushed into the workforce and had to unconsciously or unwillingly take on a lot of the male roles, like being the provider, being the protectors, things of that nature, has led women to not be able to embrace their femininity. And so I think in a good relationship, a man will be able to embrace and flourish in his masculinity, and the same with the woman. And whatever that means, being a homekeeper, being a matriarch, being a really soft landing space for her husband to land on,
And a good mother.
providing that environment.
Okay, so my follow-up question to you would just be this then. If that is the case and this is what you believe, if you actually wanted men to have the authority inside of society and the responsibility, why would you advocate that women could vote?
Because I think you
Why would they
keep
do that?
deleting the most important part of this, which is that not every single man right now and at large, there is a lack of strong fathers. There's a lot of things that lead into, and this is not only a male problem, there's a female problem too. There are a lot of factors that lead into men. This is like the man or the bear question, if we get to that I think not every man right now, just being a man doesn't inherently make you worthy of being a leader. I think that you have to show that you are a leader, and this is true across the history of the world. Every single shepherd in the Torah and the original book was chosen for a lot of their specific qualities. There's a reason why those men were chosen to be leaders. Same with Donald Trump. There may be other men who share similar qualities to him, but there's a reason why he was chosen to lead, as opposed to any random guy that you can maybe find on the side of the street in LA who's catcalling women. I think that men who are worthy and live up to what it means to be leaders and protectors, and also have kind hearts, not softies, but just overall good men, in my definition of it, I think those men are worth leading. And I don't think just because you're a man that automatically makes you a perfect, amazing leader. We've seen that throughout all of society. So
how is this argument not actually contradictory? Because you're saying essentially that you need to reduce men's authority because you don't think that they're in a good position to lead women. You don't think that men in society are good enough leaders, and since they're not good enough leaders, you need to have authority so that.
When did I say? And sorry to cut you off, but
I'm saying this is what.
When did I say any of that?
I'm explaining. This is an illogical entailment of your argument. If you say to me, I'm advocating that women be able to vote because there's too many men in society who, if we give authority to, are going to lead me wrong, then you're actually saying that you need to have authority so that you can determine who's a leader and who isn't a leader, that actually is stripping authority away from men. Like, this is the logical entailment. I don't see a way around it.
No, I think you're just taking it how you take it, which no matter how I say it, you're just interpreting it and saying what you want to say. I've said a million times.
What's illogical about what I'm saying?
I didn't say the word illogical. You keep taking what I say and then just changing what I'm saying and then saying, so you're saying this. And then when I say, no, I didn't say that. When did I say we should take power away from men? When did I say that we should take power away from men? When did I say that? Once.
I'm showing you I'm showing you the entailment of the logic. Here, I'll literally break it down. Really, really simple. Here, I'll show you. So premise one.
I don't need you to show me. I need you to tell me when I said that, because I'm saying what I say, and you're telling me what you think I genuinely believe, and you still won't address the point. But he can talk over me whenever he wants. But then if I talk over him, it's because I'm a woman who wants to have men removed from society.
Look, I've moderated Andrew tonight. You got to let him finish.
How many times can you tell me what I think I said and what I think I mean?
Hear him out.
Just going to show you.
Keep saying that, though.
Okay, stop. Just go ahead, Andrew.
So it's just like this. Just premise one, men need to lead. Okay. Premise two, in order for men to lead, they need to have authority. Premise three, women need to vote. Premise four, why do women need to vote? They need to vote because men aren't adequately leading, so women need to have authority. That's the entire syllogism. So then the conclusion is men are not capable of leading, so women need to have authority so that they can pick the men that need to lead them. So it's actually stripping authority away from men. I don't know a way around that. Like, I'm literally reducing it.
And you still haven't addressed, again, that was not what I said. I didn't say men need to lead. I said they should lead. Ideally, men should be the leaders of society. But I don't think, you still won't address 15 times over. You're telling me what you think I said, but you won't address the one point, which is there has been a decline in what it means to be a man in terms of masculinity, in terms of chivalry, everything like that. Across the board, there has been a decline. So if you agree with me that men are not, and this isn't only a male thing, but just speaking about men as leaders, that men at large, there has been a decline of what men's role in society has been, what they feel to be a man, and all of that combined means that right now, doesn't mean we should take authority away from men. It's the one thing you won't address is that I think we as a society, as women, as men, as Americans, as whatever, should work towards getting back to a place where men and women are more strong and embrace their femininity and their masculinity. And I think that will lead us to a better place where women who can embrace their femininity will naturally approach matriarchy. They will naturally say, wait, maybe, you know what, I actually don't love my corporate job. I know a lot of women who have convinced themselves that being powerful and that they need to work for 30 years and make $1 million and then they'll have kids in their 40s. And then I personally don't agree with that. And I think that if we as a society get back to a place where originally women were not expected to be in the workforce, things of that nature, then men hopefully can recover in whatever that means to them, and masculinity can become something that means more to them and is not seen as like I'm not done. Toxic masculinity,
Well, I mean,
all
are
of
you
that
ever gonna be
stuff.
done?
I'm almost done. You can wait. All of that toxic masculinity stuff
girl.
has taught men to feel bad about themselves and not embrace their masculinity. So I think the most important part of this is not stripping away power from men or saying women are better to lead. I think we need to focus on fixing that issue, whether it's through strong fatherhood, whether it's through stopping this idea that everybody's saying toxic masculinity anytime a man wants to actually act like a man, opening the door for a woman and a woman gets offended. I think moving away from that as a society will get us to a place where men at large will be better equipped to lead society. And it doesn't mean that right now, I'm not saying if I really meant it, I would say it. I'm not having any secret arguments. I'm saying what I mean, which is the step one, I think ideally men should be the leaders, and the step to get there is to fix masculinity. That's what I'm saying.
So to address, you keep saying I want to address this argument, but the argument was my premise. So the thing is when you say, okay, but you haven't addressed what's going on with men in society and the lower testosterone and the fact that they're not leading as well. But I actually did. That was the premise of my original argument, which is the reason that you see a failure in men in society is because they have all the responsibility without the authority. They have the responsibility absent the authority. So I say, okay, so how do we fix that? How do we fix the idea here that you have additional responsibilities without authority? Your premise here is, well, we need to move back to all of these things, which are preambles to women voting, by the way. That all of these things that you're pointing to, this is pre-women's suffrage. And so I go, okay, well, that makes sense. So then why is it then that you would say that men, right, who have this additional responsibility as leaders, right, you wouldn't want them to have the authority to exercise that responsibility? That seems like it's ultimately what you want. What's going on is you have an actual internal conflict here. The conflict is, I want to be a strong, empowered woman while at the same time advocating that there's a patriarchy. It's like you can't have both.
You don't know that.
Hang on. Either the patriarchy is empowered with the authority to lead, or it is not. And if you say it's not empowered with the authority to lead, women need to be able to select the leaders. You have a matriarchy then, not a patriarchy. You have a second class that has additional responsibilities women don't have, but have a limited amount of authority or equal authority to women. That's the opposite of patriarchy. It makes no sense.
I just don't understand what position or where you're coming from where you consistently think that you know what I actually feel. I'm having an internal conflict. You don't know anything about my values before the show. Maybe you follow me. I don't know. No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're saying the opposite of what I say every single time, and that's why it's just so frustrating. I have an internal conflict because I want to be an empowered woman. You're pushing what you clearly don't like about women onto me, somebody that you clearly don't know much about, or you can happily look through my social media.
I'm just listening to your arguments.
And based off of that, you are saying that I am clearly a secret feminist who wants to be an empowered woman. Finally said it right for everybody else, but you're telling me that based off absolutely what? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Logic. I'm showing you logic.
No, that's not logic. That is you trying to push what you think about women onto me, trying to catch me in something.
I'm just showing you a logical position.
What have I said? Or what have I displayed throughout my life that shows that I want to be an empowered woman where men are on the sidelines and don't have power?
You are advocating that women vote. If you advocate women vote, the entailment is women have authority.
Well, women can vote.
Hang on. I'm answering your question. So if the entailment is that women have authority and equal authority to men, that's not a patriarchy. It's the opposite of a patriarchy. That's no longer a patriarchy. So if men have additional responsibility, right, but they only have equal authority, then they don't have the authority to lead. They don't have the authority to lead because you can negate their authority anytime you want. That's the entailment of your logic. When you say, what have I displayed in my personal life, has nothing to do with the logic of your argument. It's an illogical argument. It makes no sense. Either you want men and a patriarchy, so you want men to have the authority to lead and the responsibility thereof, or you don't. But you can't say, but I need to be equal with them in political status for them to lead. That's the opposite of your own position. It makes no sense.
No, I don't live in a fantasy world. I live in the current world where women do have the right to vote. And if you are advocating for women losing the right to vote, that is something that I don't agree with. And I don't know why you think women shouldn't vote. If I think men should lead us right now, it's not an option in front of me. Should women not have the right to vote? Women have the right to vote. This isn't the 1800s like a lot of people want us to go back to, apparently. This is modern history. And if you're asking me if I would repeal this, no, I would absolutely not. If I think in an ideal society, men should be the leaders of society, yes, but I don't understand why you think you're catching
How do you want them to lead?
How do I want them to lead?
Without authority to lead, how?
Well, why do you think that you said it yourself, that the only reason the downfall of masculinity and all this stuff is because men don't have the authority to exercise their leadership?
Correct, yeah.
That's the only reason that men and masculinity has declined? That's ridiculous. I think that's ridiculous.
Listen, it's not. All the things that you would consider. Like if I told you to point to a time where you thought men were strong leaders, you'd point
The
to
greatest generation that my grandpa's in.
Hang on. You would point to pre-suffrage. If I asked you when were men better men, you'd point to pre-suffrage. If I asked you any of these things, you would point to pre-suffrage.
How do you know? You haven't asked me. This is exactly what you've been doing the whole time. You have this idea.
When were men better men? Tell me.
Yeah, this.
Answer me. When were men better men? I'm asking you. You want me to ask you? I'm asking you. When were men better men?
But this is why it's just not even like I could go back and forth with you, but everything I've said this entire time, I give you a solid answer and you flip it and say, well, you think this, you think that, because you're just trying to.
When were men better men? Just answer, please.
Entertain this anymore.
You want to answer? You're not going to answer
because it doesn't matter what I answer to you. You think you know what I believe, and you're going to tell me what I actually think. Despite every other question you've asked me, you've had the same reaction, and so I just don't think there's any point of me telling you something, because whatever I say,
you brought it up, and so I'm engaging
I've said
with
1,000 times what I think, and you keep telling me I'm on undercover this, or I really think this or that.
I'm asking you a question. When
okay, nice.
When were men better men? Can you answer the question? I don't know why we need to do a bunch of emotional outbursts. Can you just answer
emotional
the question?
Outbursts? You called me a covert feminist, saying all these personal attacks because I said what? That I think women should vote?
No, I'm giving you decorative statements of fact. I haven't personally attacked you at all. Okay. So the thing is just very quickly, can you just tell me when you think men were better men? When?
No.
What's the time period?
I'm not going to.
Of course not. Of course not. Right. Okay.
Can I do it, Andrew?
I can't force her to engage in the conversation, but and then we have Beaten Cheeks. He says, I have an idea. How about grifting feminist conservatives like Deb? Stop trying to be argumentative. Show some respect. Perhaps you'll be taken serious. Lower your entitled standards, then you'll be happy. Do you want to respond to Beaten Cheeks?
You spelled respect wrong.
How dare you, Beaten?
I just think it's funny that people will always try and say, oh, you're an undercover feminist, like haters, not genuine people. People say you're a feminist, you're a fake conservative. It's always the extreme far right people who say this because maybe I don't share the exact same version of conservatism as they do, and that doesn't change anything about me. I just think it's a dumb argument because look at my record across the board. I have been doing amazing things for the conservative movement, for Republican candidates in this country, for conservative values in my community and across the world at large. So, I mean, I just don't get personally offended by anybody who doesn't know me saying things about me, because that's what being a social media person's all about. People think they know you.
I happen to actually have a book here.
He has a book, guys. That's crazy.
Yeah,
you can read?
The Secret History of Women's Liberation, written by a wonderful academic, but she goes over the roots of feminism and the contrary positions that feminists will often take. And one of the contrary positions, which we were just discussing, that freaks you out so badly, that you get so emotional you can't even have a coherent conversation about it. But what she's trying to demonstrate is that most of the problems in modernity that you're speaking about are tied to the suffrage movement themselves. And she makes a very compelling case for this. I suggest you pick up her book. It's called Occult Feminism, The Secret History of Women's Liberation. It's very good.
You called me a misandrist, but you clearly just get off on putting women down, and that's what I just think is silly about this whole situation here.
I've been trying to have a reasonable discussion with you, and you've been freaking out the entire time.
This is exactly, I think you're showing your true colors in this sense, where what I said in the beginning still stands true. You're trying you're an emotional woman, you're this, you're freaking out, when you've had the same response to me
You
and
are
you were
freaking
so
out.
proud to make a woman cry and tell her, yeah, you should be crying, even though I
You don't
agree
think she should?
I
You don't
think the
think she should?
situation was a very bad situation, but I don't think
Oh my
trying
God.
to
Is there
make
any other
somebody
excuse
cry.
you want to make for horrific people? Go
No,
for it.
I think that
Or
that's a bad
excuses for
act, but I
horrible
think
people.
as a person who wants to
Good
represent
Lord.
godly values, just going out of your way to make somebody
Oh,
cry and
oh,
be proud of
enough,
that
enough
is
of your
not
virtue
a thing to be
signaling.
proud of. I think you can get your point across and have somebody come to the light in other ways. And if that makes me a fake conservative, that I don't think I should go out of my way to attack people with my words, that I can use my words to change their mind and their
She
hearts.
she has a man sleeping in a bed on her floor. Defend her harder. Go ahead.
I've never defended it. The whole time we had a conversation about
No,
that,
no,
I
no,
said
it's just
multiple
that Andrew's
things.
not
Are you going to
nice.
let me
It's just
talk? Do you
Andrew
see?
not nice.
Every
Right back
time
to
I
the
talk,
sisterhood.
you talk over me, but then when you talk, I have to shut
Lady,
up.
you talk 5 times as much as me. Calm down.
Tell me to calm down, please. Thank you.
I did. You can't be like, I'm just going to filibuster the conversation, talk for 20 minutes, and you can have 30 seconds, Andrew. It's ridiculous.
I've listened to you, and I've
It's
caught
like,
myself.
relax. It's like, relax. You could just have the conversation without freaking out. It's not
Any other
necessary.
things you
And
wanna say to a
definitely-
woman
you
like
should
that?
Cutting me off again. You definitely
Okay.
don't need to defend the horrible acts of horrible people.
I'm not
because you
defending. I'm
don't-
condemning
because
you
because
for the way
don't
you
like my
delivered
tone.
that. I'm not
You're
defending
still
your
freaking
acts
out. You're
whatsoever. I
still
said
freaking
straight
out.
up that having a child in that
How much
environment
longer
is
are you gonna
repeating
freak
the
out?
cycle.
I can't get a point out.
This is me for okay.
Here, I'll move the conversation on. Okay, guys, look.
I mean, can I just get a point out? Like, you don't.
Can I
need
just
to
get a point
defend-
out? Can I just get a point out? Stop
Yes,
freaking out,
yes,
buddy.
yes, but you
Babe, just
can't
take a
take 5
breath. Just
minutes
take
to
a
make
chill. Just relax. It's
Still
okay.
freaking
You don't
out.
have to be
Still
so
freaking out.
emotional. It's fine. It's
You're still
okay.
freaking out.
Just don't freak out. Just smoke your
Yeah,
cigs
stop
and take a
spurging.
beat.
Stop spurging.
Just smoke your
Stop
cigs and
spurging.
take a beat.
You're
Okay?
spurging out. Calm
Yeah,
down.
oh,
I'm
just
just saying,
relax,
you don't
buddy.
have to defend horrible people.
It's
to attack them.
okay.
It's not necessary. You
It's
just attack
okay.
them.
You're okay.
Andrew, as somebody with autism, I'm very offended.
Yeah, very offended.
I'm very triggered, Andrew. How dare you use
Yeah.
that
He
pejorative?
actually
I mean, do you
sleeps
think
on
that
my
filibustering
bed.
the convo is a good look? It's not a good
Very
You
look.
autistic?
No, he didn't. He called you a. No, he didn't. No, he said you were spurging out. He didn't say you were Asperger's.